Yeah, there we go.
All right. So, I'm joined today by James Townsend, Team Juggernaut, weightlifter, super tuttle king, all of the superlatives that we could give. But today we're here to talk about something much more significant than how to lift weights. We got a lot of stuff going on in the world, and I have not the perspective I think that people need to hear. So that's why I wanted to talk to you, buddy. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. Just trying to keep my head above water and trying not to get all angry and everything, which is hard, But doing better, man. Doing better. How you doing?
Not too bad. It's just been there were protests and stuff going on, and even in Costa Mesa last night, we're on the curfews and stuff here, and just kind of watching the news. And while sometimes living in the bubble that is Orange County, these things can feel like they're a world away. But I know that my friends are struggling with this, and talking to Marissa about conversations she's having to have with her kids and her son particularly. And I was we were talking on Saturday, I think, that so many of these experiences for me are experiences I see on the news, or that I read about, I hear about, but that I've never had a tough interaction with police. And then she was telling me about some her ex-husband having the police dog sicked on him and getting hit with the baton, and being pulled over at gunpoint with their son in the car when he was 8 or 9 years old. And that's so many people's reality, and that's something I want to be sensitive to, and share about for people maybe who they haven't had that as their own experience. But I know that has certainly been a part of your life experience. So there's stories that you could share with me. I would love to hear personal experiences of interactions you've had with police.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of them things to where me personally, and I'm pretty sure my generation, growing up in a black community and in a black household, we always hear about the stories that our parents and our grandparents and the generations before them have gone through. And you know you you take them on as stories, right? Because it's not happening as you're growing up, even though we were alive during the riots in LA. But I was only 7 years old, so it didn't click then. But that became like a story. Seeing it on the TV and the news, we see it as, and we treat it as like, oh, all right, that's the news. It's not a part of my reality yet. But it struck me to where I'm like, wow, like now I actually have to go through, and I'm doing what my parents or my grandparents or my great grandparents have done, you know, during their time. And for me, I just never thought that I would have to go through that, and being a kid from the South Bronx, 168th Webster Projects, you know, very rundown area, no money, no education in that area. Moving out to the suburbs in South Jersey into another project, another rundown area to where there's there's constant interaction with the police. So for example, it could be like, we could be, let's say let's say we're working out in your garage, right? We're just hanging out, talking or whatever. Cop roll around in your apartment complex and then happen to stop, and then get out of the car and make up an excuse or a lie and say like, oh, we got a call for disturbance. Let me see your ID. And then, if I'm a citizen here in the U.S., I have rights, right? And then by a young black male or any black male going ahead and exercising their rights, we are the angry one. We are the bad one. We're resisting arrest. So we don't know if they have gotten a call from us just hanging out in the garage or just hanging out in front of our apartment complex, which that's what we do most of the time. We get with our friends and we talk about basketball, football, we talk, we talk about stuff that's going on. But cops just happen to always roll around through the neighborhood and just mess with us for no reason. It's like a big bully. It's no different than being with a bully at school getting bullied. In our neighborhood, we always feel like the cops are the biggest bullies, and we get bullied.
So one of the things I was saying to Marissa is like, whenever I've gotten pulled over in my life, which is only a handful of times, my thought is like, I'm going to be as friendly as possible with the police officer because, I figure that can only help. It's definitely not going to hurt. It can only help. But I think that's an easy thing to do for me when it's like, well, I get, pulled over once every couple of years when I knew I did something wrong, for the most. But if it's you're getting pulled over, every week or every month or multiple times a week, as she had described with her ex-husband, it's going to change. Like you're on edge right away.
Right.
You kind of sum up a little bit of what that feels like to like enter into a situation knowing it's
nerve-wracking, man. It's for you to know that you have no criminal record. Like me, I have no criminal record. I don't smoke, never did drugs, drink occasionally or whatever, but clean driving record. But for you to know that you have all that and that you're clean and everything and that you haven't done anything wrong, but to get pulled over, it's like your heart just raced through the roof, and it becomes one of them things where you're like, all right, hands on the steering wheel or hands up or hands out the window and everything. But then also, as the cop pull up, you're nervous. So you're talking nervous. And then that implies him to go ahead and be like, hey man, why are you nervous? And then they ask you to step out of the car. Like for example, when we first moved here, we went to a wedding to Kansas City. Driving back, I had my 2017 Tahoe that had 20-inch rims and 20-inch tires, and they were all black or whatever, and I still had my California license plate at the time. So being that we were only a month in living into Iowa, the DMV gave me 60 days to go ahead and change it, right? To change my license and also change my license plate. So as I'm driving, I see the cop car, and this is normal for us. Whenever we see a cop car just hanging out either on the road when you're driving or in the median, you're constantly looking in the side view mirror. You're constantly looking in your rear view mirror, right? And then he comes out, and I'm like, oh, all right. I'm sitting up and everything, but I'm constantly looking to make sure, like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. So he tells me for 10 minutes, and I'm like, and I'm just saying to myself, like, all right, I know I didn't do wrong. This is my car. It's in my name. My license plate is clean. So whenever you run tags, that all that stuff should come up. So I'm in front of a car is in front of me and then a truck. So the car moves and I'm behind the truck. The cop is behind me. Then I move into the passing lane to pass the truck, and then he gets behind me, and then I get over to pass the truck, and then he turns on his lights. And so he said, as he pulled me over, he says that I was tailing the truck, knowing that he was tailing me for 10 minutes. Yeah. And then, he asked me for my license. Amy had woke up, the kids were in the back. He asked me for my license. I gave him license, registration, and insurance. And then he asked me to step out of the car. And I'm like, I turn to look at my wife, and she's like, what? And mind you, there's a cop on her side looking in through the back window to see, who's in the back, or whatever, because my windows are dark. But he has his hand on the gun. So she looks at me, and I'm like, why do I need to get out of the car? And he's like, just get out of the car, please. And I get out, and then he tells me to come to the back and then to sit in his passenger seat. Right. So I'm scared. My kids are crying.
Yeah.
Amy's crying. So I'm sitting in there, and he was like, "Oh, where y'all coming from?" I was like, "Coming from a wedding. We just moved here." And then he was like, "Okay. How long ago did y'all move here?" I was like, "All right, we moved out July 18th, and around this time it was in August." So he's like, "Okay. So, what made you go to the wedding?" And I was like, somebody that used to go to my gym that I owned in California invited me out to go to the wedding. So we're just going to a wedding. He's like, okay. So he gives my place number, and he's running it, right? But he's also radioing it in. The person came back and said the tags is good. They're from California. James Townsend and Amy Townsend name are on the thing. His license is good. No warrants, nothing. So I'm sitting there, and he's like, oh, okay. And then he gives me my driver's license, and he was like, make sure your kids are tied up in the back seat, in a car seat. I'm like, yeah, he threw that jab at me. And I was like, and I just got out of the car and just walking to the car and just driving back home. I'm just shaking, like, but not only am I shaking, I'm just thinking about, like, why did he have to throw that jab out there? Why did he have to pull me over in the first place? Is it because I had a nice car? Is it because my tags were out of place? He tailed me for 10 minutes. Even when the car that was in front of me and the truck, he could have pulled me over then. So it's stuff like that, to where it's either we're driving a nice car, we're in the wrong neighborhood, we're hanging out in front of our house or whatever, or we're walking down the street. It's a whole bunch of things that get you involved with the cops for just being Black.
So as I look at your life from the projects of the South Bronx to Moore Park, Thousand Oaks area, California, to Iowa, that's about 3 as different of places that one person could live. But do you see big differences in your experience as a Black man in the South Bronx versus, pretty affluent area of Southern California versus kind of rural Iowa?
Oh yeah, there's no, I don't, even when we lived in downtown LA for 5 years, we lived 2 blocks away from Skid Row. There was constant cops, constant cops, so in my psyche, that's the norm. I'm used to it. Coming from South Bronx to South Jersey to California, just seeing the cops, that's normal. And I guess in LA they have to be out there because of, the all the homeless people being around and everything. Yeah. I get that. But moving out to Moore Park, now that was different because I didn't see as much cops. There was no need for a cop. If I saw a cop, it was that one cop throughout that whole town.
Yeah.
And just the variety of cops out into a very predominantly white neighborhood, there's no need for them to be there. That's going through their minds. There's no need for me to be here because this, no crime is going to happen here. I need to be patrolling down into, South Central or the South Bronx or Compton and everything where crime is happening.
And now where you're at in Iowa, like, you like the only Black guy that lives in all of Iowa, or what's up, bro?
I'm the second. There's 2 Black guys in my gym, me and another guy. 2. And just even with all this is going on, it's not that I'm looking at them differently because I never will. Like, even dealing with all the races in my life, nothing. Even though all that hatred was at me, nothing could allow me to hate white people. Nothing, nothing. But I'm aware of it. I'm educated on it. But nothing would allow my heart to hate anybody. Even when a priest told me and my wife he would not marry her because I'm Black, to my face, sitting across each other. Yeah. Like stuff like that. So, but being here in Iowa, I find it that my white friends are more concerned about me being here than I am concerned about being there. they talk to my wife and they talk to me about it. Like, hey, how do you feel about being here? I'm like, oh, it's nice. I get, this, I get to drive, to the store. It doesn't take me, 15, 20 minutes just to go to a store like how I did in LA. But they asking me for a reason, and that speaks volume. That
Yeah.
speaks volume and letting me know that they are aware of the racism around the state in Iowa, around the town that we live in, and how people perceive me.
So all of this for sure, and an experience like you were describing, getting pulled over with your whole family in the car there. I know that this has brought up some. I can't even imagine how tough the conversations to have with your daughters. The famous Princess P, the you know not quite as famous yet, but Freya. And as a side note to this, people, if they haven't seen your daughters on social media, they've got to. I got a lot of friends now who they've got 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old kids, and my nieces and nephews, and basically your daughters have just ruined every other kid for me, in the sense that someone's like, oh, look at this great thing that my child just did. And I'm like, well, I would be impressed by that, but I know the Townsend girls, so I'm impossible for me to be impressed by any kid anymore.
Thank you.
And I love your daughters. They're incredible. But tell me a little bit about the conversations that this has sparked with them.
It's unfortunately there's a ongoing like issue with mixed girls, because they mixed girls or mixed boys, especially coming from both sides, the black community and the white community,
Yeah.
because they're in the middle, right? And ultimately, society makes them choose a side. P, who is 6 years old, about to be 7, is much lighter than Freya. So in society, Freya will be considered more of the black girl because she's my skin complexion. To whereas P will be more considered of white because she's light, her mom's side, right? And that's the talk that we're having with them now. It's because as P getting older, oh daddy, you take so long with my hair. How come you don't have to take that long with Freya? It's that talk, and it's ingrained in our community because of the difference of light versus dark. Dark, back in the day, dark was considered the field slave, you know lesser than the one who was light skinned in the house, got all the goods and everything, had the good hair and everything. So there's just a divide, and so we're just kind of talking to them about like, hey, like, you both are beautiful, you both are black, and you both are white, but society will see you as a black girl. You will have you will have your troubles of trying to fit into this group and trying to fit into that group, but don't try to fit in. Be your own person. And that's why I train my girls. I train my girls to be brave, strong, and confident, not to just be strong solely physically, but mentally. So that they could, when they grow up and have to experience what we're experiencing, they are already, cemented to handle anything. It breaks my heart to even have those talks. And it's just hair. But
Yeah.
hair in society is a big thing. How come our hair is softer than mine? And then people will come up and say, oh, I know this Freya hair is different than P's. And then I got to go ahead and why is that? And oh yeah, P's hair is good, but Freya hair looks different, and it's just it's constant. It's constant.
Yeah, Marissa has expressed, with her kids being mixed as well, how I think a lot of times her daughter feels like she's not accepted by a lot of the black kids at school, where she's not black enough to be black, but she's not white either. And even
They're
when
in the middle.
asking about going to like a protest last night, where Marissa sort of cautioned her against that, because it's like, you've got, you're 16 with a white boyfriend, and like, you're gonna go there, and it's maybe a dangerous thing for them to be like, well, are they with us or are they against us? It's a lot of tense stuff going on. And your girls are so young, with not even quite 7 years old yet. But I guess whenever I think of Perseus too, she seems so mature, and so advanced. Besides just the athletic advanced stuff, just advanced maturity, emotionally, everything. Is she is she asking a lot of questions about, Daddy, why did this happen to George Floyd? Why are these riots happening? Like, is that something you guys let her see or shield her from, or?
Yeah, she acts because I was crying, and Amy was crying, and she acts like, what is wrong, and me as a parent, I never want to shield my kids from the real world, because I was shielded from the real world. My mother never really told me about racism, and I went to a high school, it was predominantly white, Catholic high school and everything, and dated white women and everything, and dealt with what came with being a black guy dating a white girl in all predominantly school. So, but I never had the education or the understanding, because nobody ever, had the time to sit down and tell me. So when she asked us, we told her that somebody did something bad to another person, and we explained the book that she's reading of Ruby. I forgot the little girl name. It's this little black girl that's going through, telling her story, going through integration, and it lays out for kids. Yeah, it's awesome book for kids like P's age to read and to understand. And she'll tell us about the book, like, hey, mommy, white people didn't like Ruby because of her skin color, and they were mean, but then they came together, and that's what it's like. And I'm Ruby because I'm black and everything, and she knows a little bit of that, but she's acting. She's also blurted out something like 2 weeks ago, to where she's like, it's hard to be being a black girl, and it shocked me and Amy. And we were like, what you mean? But she wouldn't elaborate on it. She was like, no, it's just hard, and I don't get why she said that, or where that's coming from. Maybe she's, like you said, she is very mature for her age, to be 6, 7 years old, and for her to express that feeling is like, is she feeling, getting into her feelings of being in the first grade, second grade, of dealing with, other kids who don't look like her, or kids who look like her but much darker. It's she's definitely acting. And I would never want to keep her away from the real world, of what's going on, because at some point she's going to have to face it.
Yeah, and I think if there's anyone who I trust to do a great job with this, because you're just a phenomenal dad, and I love seeing what you do with those girls. But I'd imagine, did you have a chance to listen to that Marcellus Wiley thing that I sent you?
Yeah.
So kind of to that effect of what Marcellus Wiley was talking about. It would seem, that there's this balance to strike between educating your kids about, this is happening, this is something that you need to be aware of, but balancing that with, while you're aware of this, you can't be, kind of assuming that it's going to happen to you this way, or you're accepting of it, or you're going to just say, well, this is happening because I'm black and there's nothing that I can do about that. How do you handle that, or foresee handling that as the girls grow up?
I take it as that, like, at some point you would feel some racial disparity. You would feel some racial discrimination at some point. And that's why I said, we live by three things: brave, strong, and confident. I need you to be brave in your mind. I need you to be brave in your heart to be able to speak up, speak out, call out, and stand up. I need you to be confident in being able to speak up, speak out, call out, and stand up. But also, be strong in it. Stand by your friends. And stand by others, whether if they white, black, Asian, Puerto Rican, brown, whoever. And it's some things that Marcellus said was really good and true, but then I disagree in a way to where he said that, like, you it's not necessarily always going to happen or come at you. That's not everybody's lives. Those that live in predominantly white neighborhoods like me, or that's still in the hood, you know, there still will be somebody who feels some type of way of your skin complexion. 56 years ago, segregation ended. We're talking 56 years ago. That's not that long ago. And those people who wanted segregation are still alive. Those people who still feel that way are still passing on their racial ideologies onto their kids and then keeping it going. But then it's up to me, and other parents to lead our kids into the future and to create a better one. No matter what, if you're experiencing racial discrimination, bigotry, or racism, whether if you're in school or out in the street or wherever you're at, how are you going to respond to it? Never respond out of hate. You know, it's going to get you mad. But you can't allow it to fester in and keep you mad. We need the next generation and then my kids' generation to come up with a better plan, something. And like I said, it starts with us. If I could keep my kids grounded on being brave, strong, and confident, then I'm pretty sure it'll be a ripple effect onto other people. And then if not just my kids, anybody that I come into contact with at my gym, out in the street, the kids that I train here, anybody that I can impact on social media, it's all about your response. Like I said, I've been through so much from my oldest daughter who is turning 18 this year, from her mom being white and them and her family restricting the relationship from me and her. The school, the high school, from me getting a white girl pregnant and them parents calling in to having me expelled and lunch ladies not serving me lunch. But the great thing about that is that it took a white woman who was the head of the the lunch to give me free lunch for a year and a half. How can I let the hate of other people fester in my heart and allow me to reciprocate that towards white people? I can't, because not all white people are racist. They're not. They're not all white people are willing to listen to their parents if they're trying to pass down that racial ideology. They gotta break away from it. Some do and some don't. But it takes us to have this conversation. It takes us to talk. It takes those that want to learn and understand to have compassion and empathy. Just one day at a time, one person at a time. It could be a ripple effect, but it comes down to all how you respond.
And I know that the Townsend family attended a peaceful protest the other evening. Describe that experience to me.
Being in Iowa, you would think, that's a lot of white people, maybe like 10% black people there. But when we went to the vigil on Sunday, it was everybody. I was just so amazed by all the white folks that came out. Yeah, I was amazed by all the black and brown people that came out. People were holding hands, people were hugging, people were crying. That's progress. That's progress, and it kind of strikes me that, like, I automatically went in thinking, like, all right, I'm in Iowa. I'm in a place where it's predominantly white. Let's see who's if white people going to come out and support. It shocked me, and it's like, you know what, like when stuff like this happen, you can't close your mind off and think that, you know, there aren't going to be white people that's going to support the cause because they're tired of it too. Nobody wants to be labeled as a racist. Just like blacks don't want to be labeled as a thug, and it goes both ways. But they came out and everybody, all races. It was awesome, man, and you know people were crying. People were saying, that could have been my son. People was consoling each other. People. It came to a point to where I was like, this could be great for the next generation. This could be great, and it felt so good to see that. It felt so good to see everybody coming together.
That's good. Yeah, I'm sure it's been a great frustration to you to see so many of the peaceful protests and the good things that are happening being overshadowed by rioting, looting, all of that stuff. If to give you the megaphone that I can here, if you could send a message to people who are doing that stuff, what would that be?
If it's happening here in Des Moines. It's who would think in the middle of America, that the rioting and stuff that happened here. And I would just say, they're taking away from the message. Like I understand what rioting means, but the looting and everything, and it's taken away from the message. Most importantly, when they're doing this stuff, the rioting and looting and everything, we already know that the media is against black and brown people. So automatically they're going to label the rioting and looting to black people, black and brown people. They're already going to say, look at what they're doing. We already know, it plays into the negative narrative that's already out there about black and brown people. So I would just say, like, if even black folks just speak up, speak out, stand up, just stop it. Just continue on doing what you're doing. Hold on to your truth. We already know what the media is gonna play and spin out there. But the riots, it's like Martin Luther King said, right? It's the language of the unheard. We understand where it's coming from, and if people want to know the history behind it, we know that the black community learned it from our oppressors, right? So, but it doesn't it doesn't correlate over into the message. The message needs to be in the forefront. The riots and the looting doesn't be in the forefront, and the media they gotta take part into not perpetuating this crazy violence out there that keeps running and running and running and running. That's the one thing why people have this negative narrative about black and brown people, is because the more that they see violence and stuff on TV that the media is pushing, they automatically gonna say, "Yep, I knew it. He's a thug. I knew that. I knew this." So it's just the message just need to be in the forefront, man. And it takes us from social media and our following to keep it there.
Yeah. People pause and take a look at what was really happening with a lot of that looting. Like, Santa Monica got torn up, and it's like, well, I'm watching on TV while a bunch of white dudes run out of this store with surfboards under jump under the scooter and ride off with surfboards. And I'm like, well, shit. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, it was so, it was so ridiculous in that sense that it's like people are going to get mad about Black Lives Matter or these peaceful protests because these stores got broken into, and it's a bunch of fucking surfers with stealing surfboards and just people being opportunists and ruining the situation that people are trying to get something positive out of something extremely negative.
Right.
So you've been talking about it, but like where does change start, and where can people like myself, be like, how can we be effective allies to you? And I know today there's like the Blackout Tuesday thing going on, and it's so hard to know what information is right or real or whatever, because some people are saying, oh, this is, they're trying to silence black people by doing this, and if you do this hashtag, this happens, and if this hashtag, this happens. So,
Right.
where do we start?
So the Blackout Tuesday was just for today, and it's meant for us to pause, post the blackout, but then also put it to action. The action is going out to register to vote. Nationally, for I guess today, I think today is the Iowa caucus and what's going on in Iowa. So to go out and vote, but also vote into your communities, right? And then continue on peacefully protesting, allow your voice to be heard, also go out there and seek legal representation for the protesters who are peacefully protesting and that had got arrested. And if you find it in your heart to be a blessing to somebody, bail them out, bail somebody out, and demand that your voice be heard. And how you could do that is sign the petitions that's going on, and donate money to the families who are affected by the injustices, like Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd and many others. The guy that died 2 days ago in Louisville, by the cops. It's injustice. Donate to his family and stuff. So that you could do that. So that's what Blackout Tuesday is all about. Blackout Tuesday shouldn't just be about, I'm posting it and then I'm supporting. No, yes, thank you. You're using your voice, but action needs to be had. We can use our voice all we want. We've been using our voice for the longest, for hundreds of years. But action, and we need action. Secondly, I would say, I had made a post about, how can I help? One, got to educate yourself first. Don't be afraid to go to YouTube, go to Google, look up authors and speakers like Tim Wise, Jane Elliott, Michael Eric Dyson, Cornel West, Frederick Douglass. They have great books. My wife is reading a book about white supremacy and how she could overcome it and acknowledge it. It's by Layla F. Saad. That's a good book to read, and educating yourself. So when we go ahead and have these conversations, you're understanding what I'm saying. Ask the questions. Just like you said, how can I help? Speak up, speak out. Silence is right now, and I think that this is huge. Silence is calling out those who have been silent and letting them know, like, hey, your silence is making you a part of the problem. I always felt like that if I have a white friend and they see me as their friend, but an issue like this is going on and they don't speak about it, then that's letting me know, like wow, you support, what happened, and you look at me differently. It's the same way of, having a white friend and a white friend having a black friend, but that white friend knows know people who are racist and are heavily racist, and they're still friends with them, but don't speak out against them, don't speak up against them, don't call them out. It's like, how can I be safe and secure in our friendship if you're allowing yourself to be friends with bigots and racists? It's about being a good person and just standing up for everybody. Not just standing up for black people, but brown, but the Native Americans, for Asians, for whites as well. Because regardless, my wife got pushed back. She got pushed back from her own friends. She lost friends. Those who are whites that look to stand up for black and brown people, you will get pushback. But that's okay, because you're standing by your truth. You're standing by your convictions, and that's okay. They don't need to be your friends anyway. Sometimes you got to call out your family too.
Well, thank you, James. You had mentioned to me the other day about the Advancement Project by Jesse Williams.
Yes.
So there's going to be incoming donations from myself from Juggernaut Training Systems to that. So if people want to check that out at advancementproject.org, they can do that. Yeah. Anything else you want to add, buddy?
No, I would just say, everybody, what's been happening. I know, me, I'm a big believer in Jesus, and I always say Jesus is greater than religion. So it's all about our relationship, but um, everything happens for a reason, and I believe George's death is allowing us to see that reason, and that reason is we're all coming together. We're trying to move past the negative narrative of that blacks can only be with blacks and whites can only be with whites. No, we need to be together. The only way we could get past this is if we all come together, out of love, out of compassion, out of empathy, and just create a better future for the next generation, for our kids. We all got little ones, and they need a better future. They need the leaders. They need to be led by the leaders, which is us. We need to do better by them. And you know, the day that God calls us home, hopefully, we did our part, and their society and their future and their world is safe. And we could go in peace.
James, thank you. Everybody, send my love to Amy, to the girls. Thinking about you out here, praying for you guys. So have a good one, my man.
Thank you, man.
All right, take care, buddy.
All right.